Hi, Susan. Today's Thursday, so we are staying true to our commitment to every Thursday get on video together, even though we're apart, and talk about the things that we and others are thirsty for, right?
Yes.
Hashtag Thirsty
Thursday. Yeah.
Right. Also known as, we started calling it the 4 p.m. Report After Show because we talk about our podcast that just went out today, our podcast called the 4 a.m. Report. So why don't you kick it off and tell us a little bit about the podcast that we just released today?
Yeah, I actually quite liked it. It was a particularly short one. It was Will and I, and we were, it's the first of several episodes in November that we're going to sort of dedicate to planning in various types. Like I was saying to someone yesterday, a year like 2020 needs like epic planning plans. Like it's not a one plan and done kind of thing. So we talked about one of our favorite subjects, which is really the idea of anchoring content. And I think most people who work in digital marketing in any way are probably aware of the idea that when you create one larger piece of content, in an ideal world, you should be spinning it off into multiple assets that are smaller and bite-sized, but also in different formats, just being aware of the fact that your audience consumes it different ways. So in this episode, we talked out a little bit of what an anchor is and how it can really break up into 20 or 30 pieces. And the idea is not duplication or trying to scam Google into thinking you have lots of content. It's just really breaking up your ideas. So we talked about that, and then we outlined a little bit how to use it in a written medium, like how to take a large report and break it up, as well as how to take like a webinar or a video recording and then make that happen.
And we spoke about this yesterday too. You had created a mind map of when we say to someone, this one anchor could become 40 pieces of content quite easily in different formats for different channels. People think that's just kind of a snake oilsy type of way to say it.
Yeah.
So you were like, I'm going to prove it. And so you actually drew out a mind map of showing us. And when you showed that, I was like, we need to turn this into a real graphic and put that out there. So let's really do that, because
we should.
It really does show how that actually can happen, and it can happen quite easily. And then, 40 pieces of content from one.
Sort of boggles the mind. And I think your point about snake oil is so true. It feels like you're promising some kind of like dirty results, and this is all not true.
And it's not just repeating the same thing either. It's actually literally creating new pieces based on that original piece.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway. So
that's the anchor. That's episode 71. Go listen to that. And as well, I think we should mention there's episode 58 of the podcast, which talks about how to take your podcast and use that as an anchor. So if you're really thinking about how to audit your content and use what you have at the end of the year, this is a great, like a duo of episodes, episode 58 and 71. Listen to them together. And then that's like a mini planning session right there.
Love it. Love it. We love that. So let's get into what's thirsty, or what we're finding thirsty on the internet. I want to start with something that really made me giggle. A shout out to Marissa Smith for sending this to me, saying you should talk about this on Thirsty Thursday. So Marks and Spencer, that kind of department-y type store where you can buy food and clothing and whatever else, they just launched a new kind of hybrid pastry. Apparently there's something called a Yum Yum, and then of course there's something called a donut. Today they just released Santa's Yumnut, which is a pastry decorated like a little Santa body, and it's called Santa's Yumnut. They TM'd it. They're trademarking Yumnut, and the internet's really having a lot of fun with the fact that there's this post from Marks and Spencer saying, "Who wants a bite of Santa's Yumnut?" And of course, like, it shows where our minds all really do dwell, which is in the gutter. That immediately we're all like, "Ooh, Santa's Yumnut."
I wonder if it was, Marks and Spencer, like we talked about send nudes from Kraft before, and Marks and Spencer is a very sort of respectable brand. And I wonder if that's going to go pear-shaped, or like you were saying, is it a different cultural sense of humor? And
it's a cheeky sense of humor, right? Whereas we were talking about the send nudes a few weeks ago, and how Christian moms everywhere were up in arms because it was like, a family brand, and they were making fun of or playing with the idea of send nudes, send noodles. So that backfired on them, but I don't know.
Should I say inappropriate election-related things and risk getting kicked off LinkedIn? Well, the send nudes is a problem, but, beep, grabbing from the president, that's okay.
Yep. Good point, Susan. Okay, so what do you want to talk about next?
So I was highly amused because, when I wake up in the morning, I try not to read the regular news. I'll read something funny first. And so I guess my systems are curating a bit better, because one of the things that came in today was the Canadian Border Security, the police, in Maine at the Maine border. I've been having a bit of fun with the whole election talk.
Okay.
And so they have put a bunch of guidelines, which is usually, I guess, what the border security does is they keep posting updates to the guidelines and what, who's allowed to and not allowed to come across the border and what you need and that kind of thing. So they were having fun with it, saying stuff like, we know everyone wants to come into the land of the maple leaf, but try to leave behind your poor attitude. And then there was another one, which is like, I know you want into the poutine fattened beavers and we're still washing our sheets from the last time you visited. Just really cheeky.
Wow.
And I was like, this is amazing. This is the police. This is not like a fun agency who's like, here, we're going to sit down and write lines. So I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And I thought it was especially funny because it sounds like it's hyperbole, but it's not. The last time Trump won, the Canadian immigration website crashed because there were so many people were like, how do I move to Canada was the search, and then the Canadian immigration website just hadn't had that level of search volume. So some fun around the election. I know this is, no disrespect to our American listeners. We know that the struggle is real, but good writing just doesn't go unnoticed.
It really does show that, you and I, we share this similar sensibility that when we see something unexpected, it really does stop us from scrolling, right? We love a little cheekiness. We love humor. We like people surprising us. We like a little edge. It's not for everyone and it's not for every brand. But again, like if you can, walk that line and stop the scroll, good for you. Right. So yeah. Very, very
and
fun.
if the police can do it, it really makes you question whether anyone should be overly concerned about being politically correct.
we need to laugh right now, honestly.
We need to laugh right now, right?
So,
you're right.
Yeah. The other thing we wanted to talk about quickly was Burger King. We've talked about Burger King this year, how they've really been doing, and it's more global Burger King, I think, than the American Burger King or European, the European Burger King. But I think it was Burger King France. They put out an ad kind of saying, we never thought we'd say this, but buy a Big Mac. Their whole point was like, we're all in this together. So whether you're Taco Bell or McDonald's, we support you. It was kind of a camaraderie you don't usually see among fast food giants. So I was like, oh, again, Burger King's doing something interesting and unexpected, which I quite enjoyed.
They've had a good year for their brand, haven't they? I thought it was interesting that a bunch of, as you know, with everything that comes out, there's one bunch of people who thinks it's funny, and then there's another bunch who's like, how dare you? That is so inappropriate. So many people came out, and it's a valid point. We've touched on the local and keeping small business alive, but they were like, oh, hey, Burger King, like, how about we put out an ad from you that says, buy from small business chains, like small burger chains, and keep them in business, especially as you're heading into the winter and stuff.
Very
so
true.
on the whole, I think the brand really has had a stellar year in terms of the things that they've chosen. They want
that ad for the molding burger to show the Whopper, to show, hey, these ingredients are real food. They won that big can award. And then what was the other thing they did that was really interesting? And then the late night and
then the late night ordering. There's quite a few.
Stuff.
Lots of fun stuff. So that's just to say, I think entertainment is key, right? Like you said, Will, we're all looking for something to make us smile a little bit, stop the scroll. So we all know how to educate and inform in our content, but taking a minute to think about how to entertain in your content is where it's at. Okay, so really quickly, one of my favorite brand examples. I talk often about my love of Sephora, the brand, and I especially like their approach to loyalty as a brand. So you might know that Sephora has a few levels, and depending on how much you spend with them, the highest level of spenders are called Rouge, like they're the Rouge customers. And a couple of times a year, the reason why, firstly, I've consolidated all my buying into one Sephora account. And I've said to you before, Will, I'd walk into a Shoppers or the Bay or whatever, and I wouldn't buy it there because I want my points to count towards my loyalty in Sephora, which is big. And I also say that I introduced you to like buying from Sephora all the time, and a number of other friends. And I'm like, everything I touch turns to Rouge because, now a bunch of my friends are also Rouge. But let me tell you, the motivating factor for being Rouge is quite simply the discount. Twice a year, they offer you a 20% discount. And then I get to buy pretty little things like this, which are a lot of money for 20% off. So I invite people to think about that. Brand loyalty is still quite driven by things like freebies and percentages off, as airline brands can tell you. And Sephora is a power brand. Watch how they do their loyalty. I think it's worth learning from.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for listening. That's Thirsty Thursday. Bye.